Joining me now, Dinesh D'Souza, conservative filmmaker and author of the upcoming book, United States of Socialism. Also with me is former Arkansas governor, presidential candidate, Fox News contributor, Mike Huckabee. All right, great to see both of you. Now, Dinesh, I first have to get into this. The ACLU has filed suit in dealing with the coronavirus response. But a friend of mine said today, where have all the civil libertarians gone when people are in these shutdown orders and, basically aren't able to exercise many of their constitutional rights? Where are the civil libertarians?
Yeah, without minimizing the seriousness of the epidemic, without recognizing that this is a global crisis, recognizing that we've never had medical tents in Central Park, as far as I know. So we're not trying to understate this at all. At the same time, we are a country under a constitution. We do have constitutional rights, the right to assemble, the right to free speech, the right to religious freedom. What strikes me as amazing is the blithe way in which mayors and elected officials are talking about abridging these rights at whim. Here is de Blasio. If I see a church that is having services, I'm not just going to shut it down now. I'm going to shut it down permanently. Now, would he say that if he was talking about Planned Parenthood? If I see a Planned Parenthood clinic offering services, I'm going to shut them down permanently. He'd never do that. So what's happening here, I think, is that we're seeing an animus against constitutional rights that is coming out and is using the virus and using the epidemic as a pretext to deny citizens their basic liberties.
Dinesh, it looks like businesses across the country, especially given what Huckabee just said, people are getting ready for perhaps needing to protect themselves or their property. They're preparing for civil unrest. Look at the boarded up storefronts in places in Chicago, in Beverly Hills. We're picking up video of this all day long, and they're not preparing for a hurricane. They're preparing for what seems to be looting if this thing goes on much past, when the weather starts getting warm. Dinesh, thoughts on that?
Well, there's a rational fear of the epidemic, but there's also a rational fear of what happens when civic order breaks down. When there's a certain level of economic collapse, then things go haywire. And then when you're releasing criminals onto the street because you can't take care of them in confined facilities, then citizens demand to know where they can protect themselves, how they can buy a gun, for example. Now, the important thing about these constitutional rights of ours is that they're not up for democratic referendum. Even elected majorities, not to mention elected officials, have no right to take away these basic rights. In fact, according to our founders, we never ceded them to government in the first place. And therefore, the idea that governments can sort of blithely say, hey, listen, we'll take away your religious freedom, or we'll take away your Second Amendment rights, or we'll put aside your Fourth Amendment rights right now because things are kind of hairy. This, I think, is giving up too much liberty in order to purchase a kind of illusory security.
And Governor Huckabee, I know people they're afraid to ask questions now, but in a way, sometimes when I hear people talking, they're just so blithely saying, oh yeah, we can do this. If we have to go through September, if we have to go through November, I actually heard someone say, if we have to miss Christmas to make sure we flatten the curve, we have to miss Christmas. I was like, I don't even believe I'm hearing these things. What are you talking about? But people have to ask these questions. What are the metrics? How do we achieve the metrics? Is it reasonable? Balance the risks. That's what the president has basically tried to say.
Yeah, and I think the president's taken the right approach. He said, let's get back to business as soon as we can. He was criticized, he said, because we wanted to get back by Easter. But he himself has said, we're not going to be ready by that. He's listening to the people who are the public health experts, and that's important. We just don't know. I agree with Dinesh. We have to take this seriously. But we also have to balance it with basic, fundamental American rights. A pastor in Tampa, Dr. Harold Brown, was actually arrested yesterday. Arrested because his church had service on Sunday in Tampa, despite the fact they took extraordinary measures to try to social distance, disinfect everyone, including the church. I'm not sure that was the best decision, but people have a right to do certain things even if I don't agree with it. And to be arrested for having church, that's kind of a frightening thing, and I'm not sure we want to go there.
Yeah, well, Dinesh, an email I got today was, so we can't go back to church until the doctors say it's okay. I mean, that's something people need to chat about a little bit, Dinesh.
I agree. I think that our health and our safety is important to us, but so is our religious freedom, so is our property, so are our economic prospects for the future. Now, when you look at a lot of this stuff that says things like the curve isn't flattening and the cases keep going up and so on, of course the cases are going up because we're testing more. So this is not a case of the incidence rising at an exponential rate. It may just be our knowledge of the cases. So an important distinction between our knowledge of what's going on and what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And those two are two very different curves.
Yeah, we want to protect human life. We want to protect the elderly and the vulnerable, protect as many people as we can. And also on the other side of this, make sure we still have our constitutional rights. Gentlemen, great discussion. Haven't seen it anywhere on TV today. Thanks so much.